Hi, and welcome to the A Quilting Life podcast. I'm Chelsi from Chelsi Stratton Designs.
And I'm Sherri McConnell from A Quilting Life.
And we are very excited to be here today because we have a very special guest, Lissa Alexander.
So excited.
Yep, from Moda. And we kind of teased it last time. We are so excited about this.
Yes. First, let me mention our sponsor, Cozy Earth. We love Cozy Earth. We did talk a little bit a couple of weeks ago. We all got some new towels from Cozy Earth, and I also got some. I didn't get the bath sheets that Billy and Chelsea did, but I am loving those towels. They are so absorbent. I am loving the hand towels and everything, and of course, loving my sheets. We have had over 55 days of over 105 degree temperatures here in a row, and to have those Cozy Earth sheets is wonderful. And we just want you to remember that there is a 100-night sleep guarantee where you can try them out, and if you don't like them, send them back for a full refund. And they also do have a 10-year warranty on the Cozy Earth sheets. So our discount code has gone up, and it is 40%. There is a link in the description for the podcast, or you can also sign in and you can use the code Quilting Life and check the box that mentions that you found us from the podcast. We would love that, so that they know that we are sending people their way.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the episode with Lissa, I do want to mention the two quilts. We specifically chose them because they have significance with Lissa. So on the wall is Charming, and this quilt is made with a variety of our collections all the way up to and including Summer Sweet. And this quilt is really special to me for another reason. Well, for a couple reasons. So for one reason, I designed the quilt to go in Lissa's scrap school book, where she invited several of her friends to design quilts to do this compilation book. So I was so honored to be included in this book of Lissa's, and this is also the very first quilt that I ever put together in this home, and put this together right before COVID, and was actually working on it just in the weeks, right before the world shut down is when I was making this quilt. So I've always remembered it for that. The quilt on the table is even more special. This is my Bourgeois Surrounded quilt. Lissa had a quilt titled Bourgeois Surrounded in American Patchwork and Quilting back in the day, and she did a quilt-along. I believe it might have even been one of the very first quilt-alongs that American Patchwork and Quilting did, kind of on the internet and through social media and blogs. And anyway, I was super excited to participate in that quilt-along, posted about it on my blog throughout the quilt-along, and I used all American Jane fabrics. And Lissa was so sweet. She actually mailed me some of American Jane pieces that I was able to use in this quilt.
So fun.
So I thought that was really, really super fun. This was back in the day when, the background is not American Jane. I'm just going to show you. The background is Bonnie and Camille.
Oh, but it fits perfect.
Do you mean backing?
The backing. Okay. Yes, not the background. Thank you, Billy.
Ooh,
the backing
Billy.
is Bonnie and Camille from one of their early collections. And it was just a favorite fabric of mine at the time. And I felt like the reds and the oranges kind of went.
Really perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was actually also one of my really first bigger quilts that I made, where I practiced using low volume backgrounds.
And it is gorgeous.
Thank you. And this is really just a special quilt to me because of the connections with Lissa. And, without further ado, we're going to jump into our interview. Chelsi and I both got to be online with her, and we know you're going to love this interview. Well, hello, everyone. We are super excited to have Lissa Alexander on our podcast. We gave a little tease at the end of our last episode that we had a very special guest coming, and literally, when we started this podcast, and even the first time we had a guest, I wanted Lissa. So thank you, Lissa. This is so awesome. And we are so excited to have you.
Well, thanks. I'm so excited to be here. First I was like, maybe I could fly there, and I'm thinking Dallas heat versus Vegas heat.
No.
So
Yeah.
we'll just do it virtually.
Yes. Yeah. No, I actually was in Dallas in June, and I like your heat better.
Oh, do
So
you? Okay.
I do. I guess we'll let Lissa do a little introduction, and then we have some questions. We were talking ahead of time. We don't know what kind of tangents we're going to go off on. So we do have a rough outline, but we'll just see where this goes and
Hopefully Billy can edit as much as needed, right?
start out and let you kind of introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your journey and just
Okay. Yeah.
maybe kind of like a synopsis version and then go into more detail. So,
Okay. Okay.
okay.
So I have been quilting for actually, gosh, 32 years now. That's kind of scary to think about that. During high school, I always wanted to be like on the drill team or be the cheerleader or whatever. But instead, I made all the gifts for all the Secret Sisters. And, so I was involved in all of that, but I didn't perform. So I've always been crafty, but my sister was a home ec major and sewed all her own clothes, so I kind of stayed away from. I didn't want to compete with that, so I would cook, for our family or do craft stuff. So fast forward, and in 1980, both my sister and I got married, and we decided we would do a quilt as a gift. So we both lived in separate towns. We both made quilt blocks and did quilt as you go method. Neither one of us knowing at all what we were going to do or how to do it. So, and yeah, I was hooked. I was hooked from then on. So, that same year, I got a Christmas gift from my sister-in-law, and it was a rotary cutter, and It's Okay If You Sit on My Quilt book by Mary Ellen Hopkins. No, it was the book and a rotary mat. And she said, yeah, there's some other part that goes with this. Well, they were all sold out of rotary cutters. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So then I got a rotary cutter, figured it all out, changed my life, and went on from there. So, so that's part of that journey. But when I was in 7th grade, I'll tell you about I go by, first of all, I'm the director of marketing at Moda Fabrics.
Yes.
My name is Moda Lissa, my Instagram, my blog, all that. So in 7th grade, I was probably this tall. It was me and Leah Pender, always back row of every picture, middle, the two tall girls. And so 7th grade, I had to do speech and stand up in front of the class. You've just gone to a junior high, so that's scary enough. And tell a little bit about yourself. So I had cut out of the encyclopedia a little picture of Mona Lisa, glued blonde hair to it, and stood up and said, think of Mona Lisa, so got in massive trouble for cutting out of the encyclopedia also. So fast forward several years, and I get the job at Moda. They had no marketing department at all. So, I worked at a shop that was the closest shop to their offices. And so they hired me to do their trade shows and all kinds of things. So I took the little Mona Lisa picture, and now I'm Moda Lisa. And so that's kind of how that nickname came about. But yeah, so been quilting like a mad woman ever since. So,
Well, we're so glad you have been. So,
yeah.
and I didn't know that Moda Lisa went back so far. So that's
Yeah.
fun
So
to hear that story.
all I had to
Yeah.
do was change one letter from the N to the D, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is, sometimes you never know what's going to be an experience in your life that then turns
Right.
into a calling.
Yes.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
So, kind of one of our first questions was just anything that you want to share about your job, about your most favorite parts of what you get to do
Oh, wow.
for a living.
Yeah.
I think there's so many of us that are just in awe of everything that comes out of Moda. And I know that you're the brainchild behind
Oh,
so much
well,
of it.
thanks. We do have a fantastic team here, but I can't say enough about the owner, Mark Dunn, how just giving the opportunity. I think of so many people here that he has seen a talent in that they didn't even know they had a talent. So then he just gives you the freedom to either create or make a mistake or keep trying. And I, really honestly because I worked at quilt shops before I came here, I knew kind of what we as a wholesaler could do to help the quilt shops. And so that definitely fell right into line with what his philosophy is. We don't sell to any of the chains. His whole dream and passion is supporting the independent quilt shops. And so anyhow, yeah, I can't say enough about just that as an opportunity. Now, some of my favorite things to get to do is, it's funny. It's probably like quilt shop owners. People think quilt shop owners, oh, it'd be so great to have a quilt shop. I could just, or pattern designers, any designer. Oh, I'm just going to do this so I can sew all day. Well, that's such a small part of what you actually, get to do. So that's
Right.
kind of the same thing here. They all say, do you get to sew all day at work? No. And so I guess the downside is you do take your work home with you. When your
Right.
job is your hobby, also, there's sometimes tough to get away from it. But I took up crochet a while back, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, that's good because then you can have a hobby that's not what your work is." Well, I don't crochet very much. I still do it.
Right. Right.
So yeah, really just we have a great design team, and once that process is done, then the fabrics are handed over to the marketing team, and we just work with the designers on what they want. I see patterns and bundles behind both of you, like trying to fulfill what you want, and it's so hard not to want to make everybody's quilt.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
for our booth at Market, we all sign up for what quilts because we need quilts in our booth. The designers have quilts in their booth. And I'm like, oh, I want to make that one and that one and that one. So over the years' time, a lot of people would either sign up to make a quilt, and then as life happens, people get sick or whatever. So I stopped signing up to make a quilt myself, and I would just help people, that if something happened but I thought, well, I self-inflicted, put myself under the same pressure or deadline, and that's where I would start just making a quilt, but it wasn't on any schedule. So if I got it done, I got it done, And I took a couple of them to market, and magazine people were like walking around wanting quilts. I'm like, oh, pick me, I've got a
Yeah.
quilt. So that's how I first got a couple of quilts in like American Patchwork and Quilting. And talk about an honor, like both of y'all have been cover girls and quilt alongs and all that kind of stuff is such an honor. And then, my phase 2 to that was the Scrappy quilts because I couldn't sew with everybody's fabric. I'm like, let's see how many people's fabric I can get into one quilt.
Right.
And really, honestly, I think the whole concept really began when low volume became a big deal.
Yes.
And in working with Cheryl, who was the design director then, I never really understood those medium scale, low volumes, and I'm like, well, why do we need these? When we're trying to like narrow down a line.
Right.
And I, instead of me thinking it needed to be done my way, that was when I thought, well, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to see what all this fuss is about. to have that medium scale or, kind of bigger print white background. And again, because I looked at it through somebody else's eyes and tried something different, I'm like, okay, I get it now. Compared to being it's my way or,
Right.
So anyhow, that's kind of how I love the scrappiness of everything, the more fabrics I can use in that. So yeah, that's.
You are the queen of Scrappy for sure.
Yes.
Well, and what's funny, I think we're all doing scrappy, but that's just really means a lot of fabrics. It's not the whole everything but the kitchen sink kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's.
Yeah. Was what I just have a couple of your books here.
Oh,
Scrap. Was that the first book?
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I love this.
So again, I'm always intrigued by how different businesses within our industry work and just dive in. Well, I actually had been sick. I had, it was like 8 years ago, I had
Right.
a seizure, then come to find out I had a tumor and I had to end up having brain surgery. So I was out of work for a little bit. And so I thought, well, what's it to write a book? This would be my time to do it. So
Oh.
I had
My goodness.
a folder, and it was really, the name of it was "Oh Crap," meaning I don't know if they're going to think this is anything at all. So
Right.
I met with Jennifer Keltner from Martingale, and in fact, first she had asked me to do a book. I'm like, no. And I told her, I mean, we, of course, had a couple of glasses of wine after, the show one time. And I said, no, I'm a lot like J-Lo in The Wedding Planner. I like to work behind the scenes. I like to help everybody else. And she's just as serious as she could be, listening to me, whatever. And she goes, in the end, J-Lo did get married. Meaning, in the end, you still need to do a book. And so while I was out, I thought, okay, I'll dive in. And so literally when I sent all my stuff in, I sent it in the folder that still said, "Oh crap."
Oh, crap.
Like, I don't know if this is a bunch of crap or not, but here you go. And so she's kind of the one that came up with the name "Oh Scrap," from that. So,
Right.
yeah.
That is the best background story ever.
Yeah, and again, it's just probably my insecure personality, but you never know what you're capable of until you just get out there and try. And I was completely intrigued. It still is so completely over my skill set. They helped so much in the writing of the directions and the graphics and the over the top photography and all of that kind of stuff. But anyhow, just it's a matter of trying to look at fabric differently and a lot of just really scrappy stuff. I love color. I just absolutely love playing with color. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love that you said you don't know what you're capable of until you try. That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to hear that. So you might as well try.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about your sewing, quilting, stitching goals. How do you come up with your projects list? Like you said, there's so many things to choose from.
Yeah.
And also your creative goals. How do you keep track of all that and when there's so many things?
I'm very prolific, but I'm very prolific because I have deadlines.
Yeah.
So much like you do, anywhere from 2 to 3 lines a year. And all that stuff that comes with that.
Yes.
Around here, we call it birthing a baby. Because by the time you send in your fabric, then by the strike-offs and all that other kind of stuff, it's like a 9-month cycle, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
From beginning to end. So it truly is always.
I'm going to start saying that now.
Yeah.
This is a new baby.
Now, the marketing and design, we're in a separate building than the main building. So the guys over there like to say, oh yeah, and we have all the dirty diapers, meaning everything that's left over, everything that they have to clean up after, all of that. So that's kind of what we joke around about it. The owner, I think, sometimes says, "Y'all get to have all the sex," and we're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
not the analogy," but we do get to have all the fun part of that. But so we do like five. I think now it's five introductions a year. So
Yeah.
like y'all have the three introductions, we have five a year that then within that has, 20, maybe 20 to 30 different collections.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much our deadline is
It's a
what we're going to
lot.
sew for that. Yeah. And a lot of that is sewing samples for that, but I don't do it as much, but I used to design all the project sheets. A lot of, working with a lot of the designers that don't have a pattern line to kind of come up with a project for that. But now I've got a great team that does a whole lot of that. And I just have to somewhat deal with a little bit more of the minutia. But that's given me the freedom to do some more books and do some of that
Right.
other kind of stuff. Quilt-alongs, oh my gosh.
There's so many.
I
There's
know.
so many.
But, coming out of COVID, we all needed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
During COVID, you needed that still sense of community and
Right.
something to do. I can't believe during COVID, we didn't really ever shut down at all. We were an essential business because we sold elastic. And
Oh.
we
Oh.
sold to home businesses and we sold elastic for people
Wow.
to make face masks.
Right.
But we got so many calls or emails for like some of the very first patterns we did way back when they dug out their kit or and they'd lost their pattern. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's like, what in the world was a copy of that project sheet? And it might have been something that was like rudimentally like handwritten, kind of
Right.
stuff. So you see how forward that was. But so yeah, so that's part of as far as my goals and deadlines, that's, pretty much going from what we call bucket to the next bucket and supporting the girls here to make sure they have, everything they need to, make all that happen. But
Do you get any longer breaks between buckets where
there's
you
a
have
couple. Yeah.
a couple where you have kind of a more
Yeah.
relaxed state?
Right.
Okay.
Both quilt markets would be, when
Okay.
we have either spring quilt market or fall quilt market. And then the December bucket is the toughest because you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
Thanksgiving and a Christmas you still want to celebrate. And
Right.
then really January is where we do any like continuing ed or rearranging offices, that's as far as that kind of stuff at work. But it's just really decompressing then.
Right.
Starting a new year, what our goals are, any changing to kind of what we're going to do then. But January, and then not that July is a down month, but it's a good month to people in their vacations, and right
Right.
now we're all dealing with back to school or all of it. Nothing really picks up again until after Labor Day. Everybody
Okay.
kind of kicks back in, but right now currently, in fact, actually, when you say goals, I don't know that it's a goal versus something I'm excited about. Susan Aki and I did a book with It's So Emma, and I love block books. So it's just,
Yes.
so we did a book together, and we actually, as of this morning, are talking about doing another quilt along in January.
This
Oh
this
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say I have it too. I have.
Yes.
But because it's 60 blocks in 3 or 4 different sizes, so we're going to
Yeah.
design some other little fun quilt along. And she's
good.
Florida, I'm Texas, so we love kind of doing some of that stuff. And talk about somebody that is uber talented, uber fast. Like she was on your podcast.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
She's
the
incredible.
energy of like trying to keep up with that gal is like crazy.
Yes.
You guys are like a dynamic duo, though. Like it is the cutest relationship ever. I love it.
I have a little bit of a backstory. Do you want to hear the backstory?
Yes.
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 So we used to work with another girl out of Florida that would help us write patterns. And she worked at a quilt shop, and she said, "You've got to get." she'd say, Aki, to sew samples for you. She's like, she goes home that one day and the next day she's coming back in with a sample. I'm like, okay, I don't know who this person is. And so I kept hearing about her and how fast she was and how creative she was. And you just wouldn't believe her. And so then I met Susan, or just online. I followed her on Instagram, but her last name is Ache. So I was like, Ache,
Yeah.
right? And so then again, more time goes on, and we actually met at a show, and she said her name. I'm like, Aki? You're Susan Aki? And so I had known about her forever and had never, and whatever. But had heard about her years ago. So
Wow.
she definitely holds up to everything I had
Yeah.
heard and learned about her too. So
That's so funny. The
Yeah.
Susan Aki, like, well, I was gonna say we went to one of her schoolhouses and she had the whole room just enamored and laughing, and she's fantastic.
Yeah. She's crazy. And who is it? She has like a major crush on some celebrity.
Oh, I have to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it is, but she'll always like trade anything for either a picture. Oh, I can't believe I don't remember who it is, but yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
I
if
love
when this airs, I'm sure she'll leave a comment and fill us all in on who
that is.
And that could have changed by now, but
Yes, we need to know.
yeah,
We need to know.
she's quite entertaining. So
Oh my goodness.
she pushes me. That's good. I'm much of an introvert, so she helps me get out and pushes me to do a little more. So
Okay. Oh, so you are super busy. So do you get to sew every day though? Or is that
I pretty much do so
okay?
almost every day.
Okay.
Very either deadline driven, between the mail, the different introductions. Then at work, we've got upcoming Project Jelly Rolls happening.
Yeah.
Baby quilt gifts. What I'm trying to do, and I learned so much from. I mean, Sherri is the queen of organization.
I don't know.
She is.
I do think you should do a coaching gig. Yeah,
She
online
should.
channel that skill.
Thanks.
So what I've been trying to do, normally I get up, I get going, and I come to work, and half the time I'd be at work before anybody else. I'm like, so I get up now and I try and sew like maybe 30 minutes or so every morning. And then, right there, that pretty much adds, just have something ready the night before, sew for a little while and prep so that I'm ready if I don't get to sew that night, I'm ready for the next morning. But there's something about the freedom of not necessarily concentrating on nothing, but that's when I get all my ideas.
Yeah.
It's because
Totally.
you're like in the zone or whatever else. And it's like, oh yeah, and truly have to either, actually that's when I catch up on y'all's podcast sometimes. That's where,
Oh, yay.
oh yeah, any of that kind of stuff. But you do have, there's something about freeing your brain from having to think about other things that you get tons of ideas. So, and a lot of times I do so in the evening. So yeah.
I love that.
And
That's awesome.
Sunday afternoons when I sometimes want to take a nap, I'm like, don't take a nap yet. Just sew a little bit more.
Just so.
For our listeners and viewers, if you follow Lissa on social media, you will see that she often has grandchildren in her sewing room.
My heart.
And I love that. And I just thought that might be something that people would want to hear about. Some of your tips for getting them interested or how you work with them and what ages. I feel like you're the guru of that too. So
it's a hot mess. So my grandkids, they're 10 down to Daisy's my youngest, and she's
Oh,
3 months old. But my sewing room is like the standard. You walk into the house. Formal living, formal dining. Well, my formal living is my sewing room. So it's pretty much first room when you come into the house. That's kind of where everybody, or at least all the kids, hang out. But I have some canvas tubs that are either my scrap fabrics or, sometimes how you have leftovers from a pre-cut or something, that medium scale that I might not use
Yeah.
goes in there. So they know basically you can't touch some of this, but they have free reign. They get in there, they cut it up, they glue it together, they, any of that stuff. They learned how to sew by using the needle up and down. So I've had to have that fixed on my machine a couple of times. So now they have to sew by using the foot. So, but yeah, they love, especially the older ones, love making little baby quilts. They think it's a baby quilt for the babies in the family, which could be just truly a hodgepodge of, stuff.
Right.
But yeah, they get in there. There's markers. There's nothing they can't do to destroy fabric.
Right.
And so I know a lot of people, fabric is expensive, and a lot of people don't have, as much
The
as
scraps that we have. Yes.
Yeah.
But, I know my daughter is the one with the 3 youngest kids. So she has all kinds of treasures.
Treasures.
They're just patchwork pieces of fabric that don't have any backing to them. They might have marker written all over them, to somebody. But yeah, but it's like a puzzle, They just they get in there and figure it out. Emery did the quilt camp this year, truly at
so
the old
fun.
craft store here in town, and made it from beginning to end.
Wow.
And I would say she was pretty advanced.
You're like,
Yes.
Yeah, just everything's set up all the time. I do have to hide like all rotary cutters, the sharp scissors, because I never know when one's going to take another one in there and think they're going to help them and teach them. And I'm so fortunate that they're all pretty close, live close to me. My daughter lives about an hour away, but the other ones live 2 blocks or 4 blocks from me. Yeah. They all go. Hayes is starting kindergarten actually next week. I'll have 4 kids at the same elementary school that I went to and that my kids went to.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
God bless those teachers.
Oh.
I just love that you keep it real on your Instagram. It's just, you could just tell the love you have for them, and you're so family oriented. And I love the pictures that you do the quilts on the bed. So cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love those pictures. I love it.
Friend of mine came over the other day, and she went back to the bedroom. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I just want to take a picture of your real bed." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not made. It's only made for that picture."
Oh, I love that.
I'm not good at documenting, so I thought, okay, for no other reason, that will make me have a picture of every quilt over the period of time. So, yeah. In fact, actually, I'm going to pull out some antique quilts.
Oh,
Some antique quilts that I have. Again, just where else do you document it other than you put it online? It stays there forever, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
It's not going anywhere. So
Yeah. No, I really love that idea of having that bucket that they can use anything there, because that is Chelsea's kids were here for 4 days last week, and they kept saying, "Can we use this? Can we use?" And then that solves all the questions. Just have one.
I know.
One location.
This is what they can touch.
Go to the bucket.
Charm packs, mini charms. Whatever. I mean, it's somewhat my scrap bin. I mean, I do feed it some other stuff, and every once in a while it won't have the color somebody wants, and they dig through there. But they're fast. They're in there, and they've gotten into that room and gotten into something they need to know. I
was wondering if there are any trends that you're seeing right now that you could share with our audience. I feel like that's a question we get all the time, and you're the perfect person to
But you
answer.
know, it's funny because there's always like trends in colors, you know, and what I see that happens, especially here, is the designers are the ones setting the trends. So all of a sudden, we'll have fabric submissions, and I'm like, now whose is that? And you know, the design team will tell me or whatever, and all of a sudden you can see if everyone is all of a sudden sending in federal blue, or you know, the red, if the red turns into more the coral.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, everybody's either trying to do something a little different, or they are seeing a trend, and it's like once you
And
see it
jumping
once or
on it.
twice, I mean, y'all are the ones
Yeah.
that are telling us the trends by all means. So I know Jamie and the girls have a hard time sometimes juggling that, you know, to make
Yeah.
sure, you know, this is
Right.
Sherri and Chelsi's genre of
Yeah.
colors and looks, and works with y'all on that. Um, I went to a seminar once, and they were talking fairly recently, and they were talking about there's no real new trend because everybody's looking, what's the next big thing? What's, you know, that. And they made the comment that there's a trend for everyone. Like I had never heard the term
Oh.
coastal granny.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, Mom, coastal granny.
Yes.
right. But, you know, I thought, first of all, I hate the word granny, first of all.
Yeah.
Uh, so they listed all these things that were trends, and then you
Right.
start to see that, and it really is. There's so much out there, and there's such a niche. I could say that maybe last market, I definitely started seeing a trend that there was a lot of round circle patterns. You know, everybody was, you know,
Yeah.
whether or not they're advancing in their skills or whatever.
Right.
Um, the other trend does really tend to continue to be easy quilts and or projects like the zipper bags, the
Yes.
pillows, all
Yeah.
those kinds of things that people can finish in a shorter amount of time, while equally, gosh, the quilt alongs, that's a huge, like, how many, I know you do yours once a month.
Yes. The
Your
block of
Yeah.
the
so
month.
right. So
Yes.
how many other quilt alongs are you involved in?
Wow. Well, I really do. I really do want to sew along with this. So for sure. But
Yeah.
we are going to have a quilt along this fall with our book with Fat Quarter Shop.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah.
it's Chelsea's Brightly pattern from that book.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And I'm trying to decide what, because I actually made that quilt for the book.
Yeah.
So I want to make it in something different, whether it's Christmas or
Ooh.
maybe Raspberry
Reds and
Summer.
greens.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be good.
Yeah.
I also love how, and Chelsea, I noticed it first with you, the Halloween quilt or the pumpkin quilt that was on the cover of American Patchwork and Quilting.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I've got to make this. And then I look at it and I'm like, what? That's Chelsea? And then, yeah, but it was how you pulled those colors out of your line. And
Yeah.
I think that's what, you know, a lot more as far as the trend goes. Because, I mean, Moda, we're the home of the pre-cuts, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
just to be able to pull some of those colors out and have a completely, I mean, y'all are great at the seasonal
Yeah.
within
Thank
your
you.
line. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Chelsea's super great. Even when we had that Christmas collection, she did a Valentine's quilt
Yeah.
with those
Yeah.
fabrics.
I
So,
can't help myself.
yeah.
Well, that's why Susan and I did, the name of the quilt was Celebrate with Quilts, because you think of, I mean, when do you make a quilt? It's
Yeah.
you're either celebrating a holiday, you're giving it as a gift, you're
Yeah.
Right.
decorating with it, or whatever. So to be able to cover all that genre is definitely, your fabric line is nails that kind of stuff.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
Thank you. So, speaking of trends, do you have like a favorite notion, or are there any new notions you love? Something that's like your
um,
go-to?
you know, when I first started quilting, I was very adamant about one ruler. Didn't want a lot of other tchotchkes. So, you know, you get the regular 6 by 24 or whatever
Right.
ruler. And it didn't take me very long to realize I need a lot of other stuff. um, I definitely am hooked on papers, foundation papers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Between either the cake mix papers that are designed for layer cakes and charm packs, or triangle paper. Just the accuracy.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite go-to is my iron. I
Yeah.
have a big Rowenta steam iron that just like,
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I feel like my work is so much better when I have had some of those things. Let me think. Notions. I'm hooked on zipper bags.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a kid, I took home ec, and that was an epic, epic fail. So I never wanted to do zippers again. But now they're easier to do, I guess.
Yes.
So literally every quilt. Actually, let me think. Oh, so I just got my blockheads quilt back from the quilter.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
So the extra, when you send a quilt off to the quilter, and you have to have that extra fabric,
Right.
for the gripper or whatever. So now I just sew onto my quilt top leftovers, right? So as she's quilting it, I have to be sure, so she knows where I'm going to cut it.
Yes.
So when I get my quilt back, I trim it, and I already have quilted panels to make into zipper bags.
Oh,
So
That is a great idea.
that is genius.
It would come back and there'd be all this batting and backing,
Yes.
and I'm like, that's such a waste. I mean, technically, I could have used it and quilted it and done my own thing, but I thought,
Right.
so yeah. So actually, we went to a retreat a couple of years ago, and one of the girls and I were going to make everybody zipper bags. So every quilt we made, we just pieced a whole huge hunk of stuff on the sides and cut that off and turned it into zipper bags. But they're very hodgepodgey. But it's your leftovers of what that quilt was.
Yeah.
That's cute. Like, why not kill two birds with one stone? Like, let's,
Yes.
yeah.
Maggie Honeyman, who her Instagram is so Maggie, quilts a lot.
Yep.
Quilts a lot of my quilts. And so I'm the worst at making a label. That's like
I am
the last thing. So
Me three.
she's gotten to where she'll quilt my name in the quilt.
Oh, I love that.
And so, technically that's
It's labeled.
50 years ago,
Yes.
50 years from now, somebody's documenting and trying to find who made that. That makes me happy. Well, one of those times I had all that hodgepodge on it, and she couldn't tell the difference of the hodgepodge and that. So she quilted my name in the hodgepodge. And so when I cut it apart and made it into zipper bags, she's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't quite get that right, did I?" But that's fine. But that's another good trick, is to
It's
literally
genius.
your name into it. And it's fun because I never know where she's going to put it. So I always have to hunt around and
treasure.
find. Yeah.
A treasure.
Yeah.
Like, where's Waldo?
Yeah,
Where's
Yeah. Oh my
Where's
goodness.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Lisa?
Yes.
We need to do this. Is awesome. We have a new
I
slogan.
love that.
Anyhow, let me think. Notions. Definitely, I mean, the best scissors you can get. I love a lot of the Karen K. Buckley ones.
Yeah.
I think it's an OmniGrid.
Yes.
Oh,
that
yes.
little sharp
The little
one.
sharp ones.
I mean, I know we've got some very super, super exciting news about some notions coming out in September. So you have to have them back.
Oh, wow. Stay
uh,
tuned.
Stay tuned.
So we'll be sending you a care package.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're gonna love
And we will have you back anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a standing invitation.
I told Aki I was going to be on here, and she's like, "Hey, maybe we'll both get on there sometime."
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness. That would be the most fun thing ever. We'd
Yes.
probably just be laughing the whole time. Like,
Yeah, I can't think of anything else other than just constantly I work on trying to make my skills better, and that's
Yeah.
taking the time for like the papers and
Right.
continuing to learn a lot of techniques that maybe I'd forgotten or didn't need. But
Yeah.
so,
I
Yeah,
love
I love
that.
that.
do you do anything with glue? This whole like
No.
glue
I
binding and glue everything stuff.
I I haven't a lot, but I know people do. I think
Yeah.
Vanessa does. Doesn't
Yeah.
she glue her bindings first?
Yes, and
I
she's
think,
actually shared a really cool tutorial on it in like a reel on her
Yes,
Instagram.
she did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
recently.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize. I mean, the first of all, Elmer's glue is washable.
washable.
It'll
Yes.
wash out.
Yeah.
It heat sets it, but it is so great to actually. I can't believe this is like a confessional. Did y'all get me on here to do a confessional? One time for a book, I didn't have it done in time, so I glued my binding down and didn't sew it down right. So,
Oh,
Sherri, I know you've talked about in the podcast how like you don't wash it, your quilt, and how long it takes from when you make it to go onto trunk shows and all that
right.
kind of stuff, right? So that
Yes.
same thing happens with me. And so anyhow, I have this quilt back and I've thrown it in the wash and it comes out and the dry and it comes out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never actually sewed that binding down.
Oh.
And so when I washed it, all the glue came out
Just
and here's the
Oh,
binding flapping, in the wind there. But yeah, that's the one thing I'm so proud of now, my bindings by truly sewing them on, ironing it,
yeah.
ironing it back and glue basting it down. So it avoids having to have all the little clips and things like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing what that Elmer's does. So
Yeah.
Yes.
exactly.
So that probably saves a lot of time too, just using the Elmer's glue.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, because I feel like it takes me 30 minutes to put clips around the whole quilt.
Yeah.
So
Well, it makes
yeah,
it, and then you when you iron it back, that heat sets it
right.
to where that's that. But it just as far as precision, and I know that one time I watched people judge a quilt show,
Uh-huh.
and not that I make any quilts ever to like that that's my thing, but I watched them and they're like feeling the binding. Yeah, I'm like, so I
Oh.
asked, what was the thing, and they said, well, when it gets down to where we're really trying to judge a quilt, and you might between this one and this one, to make sure that like the binding has batting in it and that it's
Oh my
even all the way
goodness.
down.
To the
And
edge.
then also, yeah, and
Wow.
that's also why like joining the binding strips on the bias is still
Yeah.
able to fall flat. So I feel like when I glue that binding over, it's like, oh, the judges, they would be proud. It
Yeah.
is like,
Yes.
10 out of 10 for Lissa Alexander.
Yes.
Okay, so is there anything new or anything coming soon from you that you would like to share?
Actually, there isn't. I have a book proposal out.
Oh,
Ooh, that's an inside scoop.
So
yeah.
hopefully
Okay.
it's,
Yeah.
of course, Susan and I. So we're up to some
Oh.
shenanigans.
Awesome.
I'm sending good vibes for this
Yes,
because we
please,
need
please,
more of you
please, please.
guys.
So
Yes.
she's
Yes.
been in the process of moving.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, so that's pretty much done. And so I'm sure she'll be like
Wow.
on top of me, like, okay,
Let's
she already had-
go.
she'll have her part done before. Like actually in Celebrate with Quilts, I only made 2 of the quilts in the whole
Oh
book,
my goodness.
I know that.
Wow.
right? And
Wow.
part of that was because you want the book to be fresh with new fabric also. And
Right.
so, the timing is tough on that. So I was assigned to do the samplers.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, so that's where digitally creating that, working through all that, and knowing that
Right.
that's going to take a little bit more time
Yes, that
within
does
this
take more.
window. And in the
Yeah.
meantime, she's out there cranking out all the other ones. So I felt like I didn't carry my weight. And she's like, no, the samplers, those are lots more work to do that. But that's pretty much on par if you work with Susan. She's going to have outshined you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that all works out. But
Yeah.
next year.
Now we do want to mention you do have a storefront with some of your patterns, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us
So
about that.
Martingale, who had closed their doors last year, the year before, gave all the designers the opportunity to buy all the assets back. So, which is an interesting concept because you're like, okay, I made the quilt, I sent it, I own it, and I'll use it like as a magazine as an example. You make a quilt and you submit it to a magazine and you write the directions out.
Right.
Well, you own the quilt, but they own the words because then they have written it in their uh, formatting, their,
Right.
all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of the same thing with Martingale. You got all the pictures that were used, all the illustrations. So you just got this massive library of assets, and I didn't want it going to anybody else.
Right.
So I've been little by little reformatting them into pattern downloads, and again, just trying to figure out how that all is and how that works. I mean,
Yeah.
y'all are the masters at that. And so I've had like I'm currently doing a quilt along with one of the patterns at the local store here. But yeah, so just again, trying to figure that out and recoup some of that money that I paid for that, but also
Yeah.
for history's sake,
Right.
Yeah.
to
Yes.
continue to have that out there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We will definitely have a link to that in the
Mm-hmm.
description because
Oh,
there's
thank
some
you.
great
Thanks.
patterns.
Yeah.
Great
Thanks.
patterns on there that you can't get the book anymore. So
Like,
now,
oh crap.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that you are so good about working with your local quilt shop too. That's so important, and I love that. So,
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one thing. Not only do I massively miss Quilt Market and seeing everybody. I mean,
yeah.
I feed from your energy and your ideas and all that kind of stuff, but I miss the retail part of like they're open on Sundays, and I went up there to help with something one Sunday, and they got busy, and I'm like, "You want me to help cut fabric? You want me to help? You
Oh
know?"
my goodness.
And I just went home like so excited because it was you got to see what everybody's working on, and
Yeah.
Right.
this particular day it was a bunch of the local girls from high school, and they were all doing the spirit overalls.
Oh.
So fun.
Oh, fun.
I thought
Yeah.
they were
Look
so
at them.
they were picking out. I think the school is colors were red and black, so they're all picking out fabric from the store. And I thought, oh, they're gonna fall right into our plan and be future quilters.
Yes.
We're going to make them quilters in no
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So
That's a great way to get high school age
Yeah.
young people
it was
involved.
With
huge.
school
They
spirit.
the school
Yeah.
here, this particular school, they do the school colors on the front, and then they decorate the back like with their name and their favorite colors and
Oh,
whatever. So I
cool.
mean, it is like a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like we should do
I
that for
love.
Quilt Market, right? Just
Yes.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Let's do it. And I do have to say, I am so excited to see you again at Quilt Market. If people don't already know, it really is a Moda family.
oh, it is.
And when we fly in, Mom and I always put our bags in the room and we run over to the convention center. And getting a hug from Lisa
Oh, yeah.
just feels like home if you don't know. So,
Yes.
Seriously.
yeah.
Well, we were so worried the first market back with
Yeah.
COVID, was anybody going to show? And so then we talked about what if we just all bring our sewing machines? If no shop owners or no one else comes,
We'll
it
just
would be
sew.
its greatest retreat right there on the
Yes.
floor.
Yes.
We thought that was so much fun.
I'm
Oh.
up for that anytime. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I tell you that I do feel like, I mean, there's so much great stuff out there, but both Mark Dunn and Cheryl Freiberg has such a niche for finding talented designers that are humble and creative and so supportive of each other. And I know that there's pretty much not a designer that, I mean, like you talk about you and Lella, and everybody just shares content and shares stuff and promotes and lifts each other up. And I don't think not all fabric companies have kind of that kind of arsenal, but I definitely attribute that to pretty much the culture here. And that all started
Yeah.
with Mark and Cheryl definitely did all that. So, yeah.
Well, I know we're so grateful to be a part of that. And just, yeah, going back last fall after being away for a couple years with COVID, it was just like,
It was so
it
fun.
was so fun and so healing. And so we're back and just never want to miss another market. So,
Yeah.
The
yeah.
I sent y'all a picture of your first market
Yes,
at
yes,
designing fabric.
yes.
And you
We
had a
Yeah.
chance
will,
to get, huh?
yeah, we will have Billy pop that up on the
Okay.
screen.
Okay, good.
That was so fun to get.
As
That
baby Chelsea. This is like so long ago.
But you want to be different.
Oh, Lisa,
Oh.
you're so nice.
you had some great pictures, and we'll have Billy pop those up
Okay,
throughout.
good, good. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've had a lot of fun. I can't believe next
yeah.
year Moda will be celebrating its 50th anniversary.
50th.
Yeah.
Yes,
So there's
It's
a
gonna be
50th
huge.
anniversary fabric line.
yes,
So I know y'all
yes,
contributed to that.
yes,
We have a contest going on. We'll, I'm sure, in fall have a massive party at Quilt Market. And,
yes.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Oh, so excited. This has just been, I don't want to stop talking to you
I
because
know I
it's
could
just,
talk all day.
I could really talk all day.
So
We have,
can I ask y'all, what do you have coming up that's
oh, well, you talk about the birthing a baby. We did actually finish up with some strike-offs last Friday. Was it Friday?
And they are so good. I'm
We
so
love
excited
that.
about it.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, that was super fun. And the result that we had in the end was a little bit different than what we started with.
Yeah.
But we love it so much. So,
I just see like names. Like, I
uh-huh.
can tell you names for probably the next 6 months or so.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
don't see the fabric really until it's scanned. And so
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
okay.
always like a surprise to me also.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that Sherri, when you were here at the Motivations event, we got
Yes.
some film of you and a trunk show and everything about your upcoming fabric line. So I can't wait to launch that. But we've got to get Chelsi here too.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
there. I need to get there. I need
Oh,
to get there.
she has to go.
Yeah,
I know I've
yeah,
never been.
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
do
Let's
that.
set it up, Lisa. Let's set it up.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
consider it done. So,
Yes.
okay.
well, awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I guess it's only a couple months before we'll see you
Yeah.
in person.
You know
So,
how people are already putting how many days it is till Halloween or how many
yeah.
Fridays until Christmas. I'll
Yeah.
start posting on our little Facebook group how many like
Oh,
Yes.
Fridays
good. Yes.
so you'll all
Perfect.
start
Let's
pulling
do a
your
countdown.
out.
I love that. Yes. I'm excited already. So,
I'm ready to be back. It's time.
yes. Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much. I appreciate the time and
Yeah.
sharing with you. So
Thank you. We will do this again.
Yes, we have to.
definitely, yes, we
Yeah.
have to.
Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed that awesome interview that we just had with Lisa. She is fantastic, and it just feels like we were all sitting together and like having lunch or something. We just miss her so much, and so we hope that you enjoyed that. And our next podcast episode is going to be airing Monday, September 9th. So be
After
sure.
Labor Day.
Yeah, after Labor Day. So be sure to visit us then.
And thanks so much for stopping by.